I'm excited to introduce to you micro conversations. In this portion, I'm going to give you a brief overview, and then I'll switch to the middle of a training workshop for our mastermind with our coaches, showing an example of how a leadership team took the Genius paragraphs and the Kryptonite paragraphs and on their own had what one executive said, the most significant conversations we've had in 15 years. The philosophy behind Genius Spark is to solve the problem that when you invest in assessments and workshops, that great experience seldom goes any further than the workshop, and managers don't feel capable of continuing to use it. My purpose in this video is to show you one of the tools that will turn your use of the assessments and the training into something that your managers will use on a weekly basis. One of the ways we've simplified this is distilling the assessment data and all the reports into a concise, clear, and compelling paragraph of what you look like at your best. That is called the Genius paragraph. And here's the report once you've completed your Genius and your Kryptonite paragraph. You see the leadership style at the top. Mine is a servant leader. And then you see my Genius paragraph, my Kryptonite, and we define Kryptonite as your strengths that can work against you under pressure or when you lack awareness of how you're coming across to others. And then there is a short summary of each of my 5 strengths. This is one of the worksheets that we've broken down into several micro conversations. We have a workbook that shows you how to use this. And it's easy to use it one-on-one or in team settings. We also have a report that consolidates all of the Genius paragraphs on the team and then the Kryptonite paragraphs in separate reports so that the team can share and compare. And so what you're looking at is the Genius paragraphs on the left and the Kryptonite paragraphs on the right. This happens to be from our Genius coaches. We have a weekly mastermind that they attend where we go into training and tools and solving problems together. Immediately following this overview is a small portion of our recent mastermind session going through all the different ways you can set up and use the worksheet for micro conversations. I picked this particular portion because it is the proof of concept of what we're talking about. This portion of the training video goes into a story of a leadership team for a company of about 2,000 employees. And in 2 successive offsites, they used the Genius paragraphs to share and understand and highlight what each of them does at their best. And then in a follow-up offsite, they used the Kryptonite to begin to share how their strengths get in the way and how the team has experienced that and develop rules of engagement. After those 2 workshops, 2 things happened. One of the executives sent me a note and said, this was the most significant conversation that we've had in the 15 years I've been there. Number 2, they did it on their own. I'm going to add a bonus one. And they've decided now to roll this out to the rest of the company. If you'd like a link to the 35-minute training we did on this, I'm going to include that as well. And my hope in watching this video that you'll get excited to solve the problem that every human resource person or manager has. We go through this great training. How do we keep it alive? And how do we make it effective? So I look forward to hearing from you to see your reaction to the micro conversation tool that we've developed and learn about how you can get a risk-free demonstration on how Genius Spark works, how it's different than every other system out there, and how you can get started right away. The thing people crave the most but get the least is specific positive feedback as to where I bring value, why I matter. This does that. I've had executive teams do it on their own. This next one is the Kryptonite. One executive team that I had that we're probably going to roll it out to the entire company this year, they went off on retreat, and I was a little bit worried about how they were going to use this. Could this go off the rails? What could happen? But they had an incredible conversation. Again, the way they would do it is they would share and give examples of themselves and then invite the group. to share. What do you see? What is it like to be on the other side of me? The VP of marketing and events sent me a note after that. He says, I've been here 15 years. This was the most significant and meaningful conversation we've had as a group of leaders. I keep marketing the fact that if you need me there, then I haven't done something right. This was the proof in the pudding. They could have this kind of conversation without me being there. That's the philosophy behind what we're doing with these. All of these worksheets provide opportunities to spur conversations. I hope that story gets you interested, maybe even a little excited. We're using sports science in terms of reinforcing that picture of what we look like at our best, both on an individual level and a team level. And we're using the tactic called marginal gains, little investments consistently over time that have a compounding effect. So imagine every time you're together, you've got a micro conversation that you can ask. For example, what's your go-to strength and why? And each team member gets to share. Making these kinds of regular investments do far more in helping people understand one another, create a common language, and work on these hard elements of rules of engagement. How do we work together? Now, workshops are great to lay the foundation, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. And what I typically find is people love the experience. However, it's just so much information that can't be fully absorbed or put into practice. So Genius Spark is breaking the 70-year-old model of assessments, workbooks, workshops, which may provide understanding and insight, but doesn't cross the chasm into growth, change, and even transformation. So please reach out. We can get you up and running within a 90-minute virtual workshop. Think of the time and the cost you can save. And so if you are interested, don't invest in the system. Ask to do a pilot so that you can have your own proof of concept. So please let me know your thoughts or any questions you have. I look forward to talking to you. Take care.